Okay, so the common blocks that you can use, audio, we looked a little bit in the last section. Audio is just allows you to add a audio file to your website. Okay, now here's what I want you to understand for all of these blocks. We're not going to go through them in this video, but let me just go underneath here. If I type audio, oops, and spelled it right, you can see there's an audio block where I can upload media or choose from my media library. Now I already have an audio file loaded, but I'm going to show you over here on the right hand side, there's this sidebar that gives you options for each of the blocks. So you have two tabs here. The tab on the left is your page options. It's going to let you do things like change the URL or add a featured image, which we'll go over later, or edit some of the page attributes. But if you go to the block, it will show you details or different options for whatever block that you currently have selected. Now, your go-to, this is going to save the day 9 times out of 10. You want to go to these 3 little bars, and hopefully it still looks the same and WordPress won't change it. If you click those 3 little bars, it's going to give you the outline of your entire page and show you which block that is selected by putting this little blue box around it. Now this is important because if you keep your eye on the sidebar right here where you have autoplay, loop, and browser default, if I change blocks and go to the list block, and I click that, those block options are now completely different. They disappeared. Now I have color, and I have different options up here on the top. And then if I go up here to the heading, I've got a styles tab and I've got a colors tab. So this outline view, I guess they call it list view, shows it will help you determine where you are on the page. Now on a simple page like this, not that big of a deal. But once you get using columns or blocks inside of blocks, which you can do, or blocks inside blocks inside blocks, then your page content, your page structure is going to get a little bit tricky. You're going to want to be able to use this list view to find where you are on the page, especially if you want to add a caption to the audio block or manipulate some of the options. Okay, so just be aware that that does exist. And I'm going to delete this block by clicking these 3 dots and say remove block because I don't really want to play with the audio tab for now. Okay, so I'm going to go over the lesser known blocks, or the lesser used blocks probably, and then go back to the ones we want to go to more in depth. So first we have file. File is just a block. Well, I guess first we had audio. Second we have file. File is just a block if you want to add a file to your site with a download button. That's what file is for. If you want to add a heading to your page, you can add a heading to your page. I was hoping we had all of them listed out. We don't. So this is a heading. That's an H2. And actually, I've lied to you because now I'm going to show you the headings. So if you have a heading added to your site, it will default to H2. You should never choose H1 because the page title will be H1. There should only be one H1 per your site. So this one's an H2. So I'm going to make this one an H3 and say my first page, and I'm going to say common blocks, right? But let's say that I'm going to add various common blocks under them, which is great. However, let's say that, ooh, I hit the wrong button. So let's say that I'm going to add another heading, and that was a heading 2, and I'm going to go and skip, well, that was a heading 3. I'm going to skip heading 4, go straight to heading 5, and say I like this style. So if you follow the heading structure, we have a H1, H2, H3, H5. Now that might look visually appealing. We might like the way that it looks. However, for accessibility purposes, that is a no-no. We're breaking the structure because we can go to H5, and then I'm going to type heading and go back to an H3 and just say heading 2 just for fun. No, heading 3. And then if we click on this is the details tab. It's going to show us details about this page, and then it's going to give us the breakdown of our page structure. This is really cool because see how this is highlighted in this like yellow orange? It says incorrect heading level. It's telling us this needs to be an H4 and not an H5. This is just our gentle way of nudging you in the right direction of we want to build these accessible, easy for the Google robots to read and to comprehend our pages and to rank higher on SEO and be more accessible for all of our users. So if I go back to this tab, you'll now see it goes title, H2, 3, 4, 3. It's totally happy. In this H3, we can even change to an H2 and it's still happy because they're nested in a correct order. Now, you can say, man, that's great, but I really hate the color. Again, look to your right. We've got options where we can underline, not underline, or change the color to a predetermined set. Let's make that black, and then we're all happy again. It looks just the way we wanted it to look. Okay, so I'm just going to update that just so that it saves, and then let's go over the other blocks. Hopefully I didn't lie to you. So a list block, that's very simple. That's a list. One cool thing that the list block can do, if you look here, you can do bullets, you can do numbers, and if you do numbers, you can reverse the order. So instead of 1, 2, 3, we have 3, 2, 1, or we can even say 1, 2, 3, but actually I want this to start at value 4. So now my list is not 1, 2, 3, it's 4, 5, 6. So that is really cool, and we can still reverse the order, 4, 3, 2. That is a neat little feature that we now have available to us. All right, paragraph is just a basic text block, and then quote, I'm just gonna click on this and show you. You've got a couple ways to do a quote, small and large, okay? I don't like sand, said Anakin Skywalker. So if we look at the common blocks, and I'm just going to go under here and type quote, say I don't like sand. The citation there is going to be Anakin Skywalker. And if you look over here to the block styles on the right, we have two styles, default and large. So you want to look for the styles because if it doesn't look exactly the way you want it to, maybe we have an alternate style available. Be aware that exists. It's less profound in some cases and more profound in others. For example, if you want to add a horizontal line, which will come up later, but I'll go ahead and show you because I love that block. I'm just going to type HR. You have 4 styles, default, wide, 3 dots, or the Wake Forest Shields. Okay, so sometimes that style block will do exactly what you want it to do. Sometimes it won't. Just be aware that it's there. You want to check it. Okay, so those are all of the simple common blocks. So now let's go over a couple out of order here. So let's look at image. The image block is important because you can upload or add from your media library. In this case, I'm going to look at the media library because we've added a bunch of images. So look at this. Beautiful, great dimensions. Now, if you had alt text in here before, so I'm just going to say beautiful flowers. Select. It's added that alt text in here. However, there is this great decision tree here. So this is important for accessibility. If you look at this, describe the purpose of this image, because sometimes you want alt text and sometimes you don't want alt text now. So if you click this is from w3.org, Web Accessibility Tutorials. It gives you this decision tree of when to include alt text and what that alt text should be. And this helps us stay compliant with accessibility standards. It helps your page render better for people who need help with alt text. Maybe the image doesn't display or they can't read it. So pay attention to that, please. Now you can change the size of the image you want. You can change the percentage. You can make it an exact pixel. You can change here the duotone. If that's still allowed, we'll have to see how it goes. So we can pick a preset duotone. Oh, very nice. All right, I'm going to undo that. You can link your image. If you want to make it into a link, you can choose a media file, a page, or you can just type any URL here. You can crop your image in the page. You no longer have to do that in a special place. Okay. You can add text over your image, and this automatically, this is the cool part, this is going to automatically add gradients to make it accessible, so you don't have to worry about whether or not you have the correct accessibility. So I'm just going to say overlay. For instance, if we had a dark green text on this image, it would not appear. Now, here's what I want to show you on the image. If I click this list view, you're going to see that this is no longer an image block with text. It's actually an image with a paragraph block inside of it. So now this paragraph block, I can do everything that a paragraph block normally can. I can change the text color to black. I can change the background to black. But if I do that, look what it showed me here on the right. It's telling me this color combination may be hard for people to read. There's another accessibility tip. It's throwing at you, making you aware that you're picking a very difficult combination for people to read. So if I change that, it's going to give me these warnings. So pay attention to this. If you have a call out box saying this isn't right, please change it. It's going to be better for your users. Okay. So I'm going to hit Control Z or Command Z a bunch of times and go back to just the image block. Okay, so this is the image block as it is. You can add a caption. You can add it to your page. There's one last thing I want to show you. On most blocks, we have the ability now. So actually, I'm going to hit Update, and I'm going to show you. Our page now looks like this. But you're like, man, that's a great, beautiful image, but it's in this tiny little section. It's in the measure that we talked about earlier. I want it to be bigger. Well, good for you. We now have this alignment. So let's say that the image was smaller. You can align left, you can align right, you can align center. But if you have a big image and you want to make it bigger, we now have these align wide and align full options. So if I choose align wide, and click Update, this image is now going to break out of the confines of that measure and be stretched to be a wide image, or I can even say, I want to make this full, and then click Update, and now it's going to be screen width instead of just content or measure width. So we've added that flexibility to most, not all, most of the blocks available to you. So that's going to be really important as you begin to design your pages. So for now, I'm going to remove that because it's really big. Actually, I'm not going to remove it. I'm going to replace it. And I'm going to use my media library because that's a great picture. But look, it's only 1400 by 600, which is a great small picture, but it's not a great wide width picture. Here's what I want, 2000 by 12. That's great. But I'm going to crop it, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Oh, my computer's thinking really hard about whether or not it wants to do this while on a screen recording. Oh, look at that. Zoom in. That's nice. All right, so we're going to crop that image here. I'll make it 16 by 9. And let's apply that. And then I'm going to say update. We're going to look at that new image. It should be a little bit more crisp. There we go. It added a caption, which I'm going to leave for now. That's fine. Okay, so that is the image block. Let's look at the cover block. A cover block is a lot like an image block. However, you're going to see the difference here. We're going to select the same image. It gives us the option to write a caption, or write a title, rather. I'm going to make this full width. And then I'm going to select the paragraph within it and show you that all of the same alignment options work here. So I can do left, right, center. Remember, this is just a paragraph block inside a cover block. So if I go back up to the cover block, it even lets me fix the focal point. So I don't want the focal point to be down here on these steps. I really want the focal point to be up here in these beautiful trees. So I'm going to make it up here to the top right. Then it even gives me the option if I want to make it a fixed background or a repeated background, which this is a big enough image that that's not a problem. But I'll show you fixed just to show you. That gets rid of the focal point. I can change the overlay color. This is just an example to show you. Keep looking at these options. So let's do black overlay, fixed background, update, full width. So now remember, this is what we did with the image block, but now the cover block allows us to add overlay, add a text, add a fixed background. It's a much more visually appealing experience, way more flexibility than we've ever had before. So I'm just going to drop this image block just so we can see what it would look like on a page in action. There you go. Oh, wow. So nice. So let's say, okay, man, I really like this. I want this to be my dividing line here. Gutenberg also makes it easier to rearrange items within your page. So if I click here, I can use these handles right here and say, I want to go up or down through the page. Or you can use this and click and drag where you want it in the page. And then you can even use this to pick the center point of the text within the cover block. Toggle full width or cropped. So again, pay attention to those options, play around with them. Know that this toolbar is helpful, but the sidebar is also very helpful in deciding what you want to do. And look at how easy it was to just move things around. Titles on the side, I don't really like that. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to move it to the middle. Update. And now look at us. Ooh, very nice. All right, so that takes us through the common blocks and a little bit of the core functionality of the Gutenberg Builder. So what you see is literally what you get these days. Next, we're going to go through the layout blocks, and a lot of them, oh no, I forgot gallery, but it's okay. It's very self-explanatory. A gallery lets you add a gallery of images. Very self-explanatory. Sorry, I forgot about that. You can look at the options for gallery. You can do a lot of things with that. But for now, I'm going to skip it. It's in the guide, and we're going to go on to layout blocks.